Well, it's damn cold out this morning. I think it's -5 or -3.5. Anyway, probably if you've got an ML, this is probably going to happen to it sometimes, or any car. Windows frozen yesterday. Went to put the driver's window down. Went down, going back up, did that. Okay, if your window does this, don't continue using your window. Use two hands. I can't do this right now to show you, but you're gonna hold the back like this, hold it straight, and use the window button to put it up, and leave it up until you get until you get inside the door panel to fix it. Don't continue putting it up and down. You may be able to save your window at this point, your window regulator. If you keep putting it up and down, you're done. It's toast. If this happens again, even when it's this high, it's still going to keep tilting. But if you hold it at the back while you're putting it up until you get to the top where your finger's almost going to pinch, and then just kind of keep some pressure on it, and it will go straight up and get into the track. So I'm going to put that up and leave it up, and then I'm pulling the door panel off. Like we've gone over this before, but again, the little cover here, pull it out at the back, pull it out, and then slide it up. See, there's a little clippy thing here that holds it. Oh, where's my little clip? Little metal clip's gone on there. It holds it in. Oh no, it's not. I'm looking through the camera and it looks like it's gone. It's a little brass colored clip. There it is. So, out, pop, up. Let's take this off. Take something soft and flat. It's not like a screwdriver that's going to wreck things. Pry up from underneath the little cover here, from the bottom, pop it out. Looks like this. It's held in by two little round thingamadooies that pop into these two holes. The two round pins pop in those holes. It just pops out. Two Phillips screws here, big ones, so you're going to need a big Phillips screwdriver because they have a big head on them. Don't try to use a little one, it's not going to work. Pop the little cover off of the ABS side airbag thingy. ABS, no, airbag, SRS. Early in the morning, I'm wearing Batman pajamas for God's sakes. Flop it open, and there's one more Phillips screw in there. Those three out, and then we'll be back in 2 seconds. Now I've got all those three screws out. I'm taking a plastic trim tool, stick it between the panel and the door, and twist. Gently pop the clips behind. Those little pop clips just need to be popped out. Use a screwdriver. You're going to scratch the door panel underneath as you do it. And just work your way around and pop them all one at a time. And I'm going to need two hands to do this, to pull and pop them. Pop them all the way around, and then we're going to pull the door panel off. I'll show you that in 2 seconds. Okay, once we've got all the little push pins pulled out, the door will be hanging freely. Some of them are going to pop out and fall on you. They look like this. They've got a little rubberized thingy. That's just like an anti-rattle seal. Just keep that. And then the little half here pushes into the door. The little, between the little slot there, it pushes in, clips in. This just pops into the door, and the little ridges keep it in place. And some of those will fall out on you when you do this, but don't worry. And now you're just going to take it and lift straight up. Oh, take your, unscrew the knob on top of your door lock. Now inside the door panel, you're going to see where it hooks up to the door latch, the handle. Pull on the plastic outer sheathing, slide it down, and slip the handle out. Pull this off, and then unclip the little the wire going to the puddle light underneath your door. And that's it, and the door panel will be off. And push the door panel, take the door panel, put it aside, and I'll be back in a second. I just have to unplug that wire. Need two hands. Now inside your door, you're going to see the styrofoam. This is like it's like a seal to keep water and stuff out. And you just have to, well, it's winter time, so this is going to be a bitch for me because it's not going to be very flexible. It's just glued on with like a sealant that will pull away and push back in, like it will reseal itself. But man, being winter time, I'm going to have to close the door on this and leave the heater on for a while to warm all this up. You're just going to go around and slowly just pull this whole foam rubber type of deal. See, it'll slip off. Okay, did find out what the problem was, but a little bit of bad luck because that's not going to help. These two arms, the two that were loose, they're spot welded together so that they form one cross piece that goes up here. And as the window, I'll show you, goes up, it's supposed to move, they're supposed to move together. Nothing to do with, I don't know, I might be able to spot weld these two together, but the best thing to do is just get a new regulator. I know the window's not going to fall out on me while I'm driving or whatever. But as I said, these two arms that were loose and hanging down, they're not just joined in the middle and pivot. They actually pivot in the middle, but they're welded, spot welded. You see these little holes around the bolt that I put in. I just put a bolt there to hold it together for now. But those little holes that are in there, those are actually spot welds, where it welds to the back arm, goes through and welds to that. So there's supposed to be one solid piece, and as it turns, it pushes the top up and the back of it. Anyway, they don't pivot, and putting a bolt in there is just going to keep the arms from flopping around, that's all. The spot welds are broken, and there's nothing to it. I have to replace it. I'm going to have to get another regulator. I don't know if there's one at my wrecking yard. It's Friday, 10 o'clock in the morning, 9:30 in the morning. I don't know if I can get one today, which is going to kind of suck. I mean, I can drive around with my door panel off. I'm not going to put it back on until I get the regulator. What's the point? Anyway, I'll update you once I get the regulator. Okay, I've ordered the new regulator, but it's not going to be in for about 2 weeks. So, at the wrecking yard, found my first victim here. It's an ML. This is a 99. And there is the driver's side window regulator. So I'm going to have to drill out the rivets here, here, there, there. And hopefully we can get this sucker off. And there's also a 6mm bolt. Wow, someone really wanted the door panel off. There's a 6mm bolt right there, an Allen-headed bolt on the back of the regulator, bottom of the regulator track. And this is what's broken on mine, this arm that goes from there to there, where it's welded to there. So, anyway, let's get drilling and pull this sucker off. I mean, just you can use a drill to drill the rivets out. Quite a big enough drill bit, so, but I am getting them off. Just kind of have to drill bits sideways on them. Try right-handed, I'm better right-handed. Rivets being drilled out. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I have to drill out. Okay, here's the front bolt, and actually this one's a T30 Torx. Luckily I brought Torx bits, but I didn't bring a ratchet that's going to fit a Torx, so I'm going to try and get that out with a screwdriver, which is going to be a bitch. But anyway, other than that, that's the last thing I have to take off, and back in a sec. Okay, that's been loosened, as you can see it slipped forward there, and now this bottom arm can slide along the track and out, and then we just lift the regulator up. I didn't do that, it just fell on its own weight out past the window. I have to try and lift the window glass all the way up to get it out, because you're going to need the window glass up out of your way. So I'm going to obviously need a couple of hands to do this, and I'll be back in a second when I've got the whole thing out. It's going to just, once it's loose, it's going to pop out. Okay, there's the window regulator assembly. If you don't need the motor, there's 4. This motor wasn't even in here, someone had already taken the motor. Sorry, there's 3 T28 or T30 Torx bolts that hold that in, but the motor wasn't in on this one. Someone had already come and taken the motor. So I don't need this back. You know, I'm going to take that anyway. The slider that goes up and down the back track. I'm going to take that off anyway and take that. Why not? And while I'm here, I'm going to scout and see if there's any more parts. But basically, there's the regulator. And as you can see, those 2 arms are welded together. See there? In that hole in the middle, which I thought a bolt went through. It wasn't even a pivot point. It's just a hole. But I think on mine at home, I'm going to weld in the middle of that hole when I get this one home, just to make sure this sucker never comes apart on me. I never had a problem with this one, but everything else seems good. The plastic slider feet inside the window channel are good. Everything else looks fine. The teeth aren't chewed up on the gear. And it took me about 10 minutes to get this thing out, maybe 10-12 minutes with filming. And while I'm here with this door panel sitting here, I'm going to scoop a couple of these clips, because you can never have enough of these. A couple may always break whenever you're pulling your door panel off, so they just slide out of. See, there's a little slot. See there? They just kind of pop out. You might need a screwdriver with ice cold hands. It's like -5 out here, so it's kind of cold. So I'm going to pop a few of those off, take those with me as extras, and we'll be back at home in a little bit. Okay, back home from the wrecking yard, and it's time to install the window regulator. I've got to unhook the power window motor switch, which just means you're pushing this little gray tab and pull the connector out. I may need a screwdriver to do that. I'm going to need to use a screwdriver to do that. I'm just going to push it in, pop it out, and then we're going to take out the whole motor and regulator assembly as one from this window and transfer it over. I'm going to have to lock the window up once everything's unbolted. I don't want the window to move. Basically, I kind of want it in this position right here where it is, maybe a little bit higher. So I'll show you that in 2 seconds to get everything set up. And to hold my window in place, I've used a little inflatable pumping wedge that's for picking locks on cars or getting into cars not that are, you know, when you've locked your keys in your car and stuff. I got it on eBay years ago for like $5 or something, I don't know. But it's sticking around and it's good for this use. It's a little pump wedge. Anyway, that'll keep the window from falling down. And again, unhook the power window switch. I'm going to take off that bolt, and I'm going to start drilling out all the rivets. And then once that comes out, the whole assembly is going to come out the same as the one at the wrecking yard did, basically. And then I'm going to put the new motor on the old regulator. The old regulator, I have cleaned all of the old grease off, and I welded the center, oops, just to make sure that never, hopefully, breaks free again, and cleaned all the grease off the teeth on the removing armature here. Cleaned all the old grease off, and all the grease off the slider here, the plastic slider, which is good. And I'm going to re-lubricate everything, but anyway, let's get that old window and regulator and window motor switch, or window motor out. Back in a minute. Okay, so my window regulator is drilled out now. The little holes are all visible. Make sure when you drill them out, don't enlarge the size of the holes. And mine still got the motor attached to it. Let's get that wire a little further out of the way. And the motor is going to hook on here and here. There's 2 little tabs. Well, not the motor, but the regulator. It's kind of held on 2 little tabs. You kind of pull it back, push it in, and pull it down. And again, the window is still locked in place in this one spot. I've slid the front arm that had the little Torx bolt on it. and slide this whole thing out with one hand. I need to raise the window a little bit more, so I'm going to have to raise that by hand, push it up by hand, and then lock it in place with the wedge again. So I'm going to need two hands. So once this is, in order to get the whole thing out with the motor on it, the window's going to have to be up further. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be back in a second. I don't think you really need to see that. It's just lifting the window and pulling the regulator out. Back in a sec. Okay, so with the window up, I slid the regulator out the bottom, and this final arm that was attached on the track on the bottom slides all the way forward and down and out, and that's the little plastic slider that's in there. And now we're just going to take these three, I think they're T30s, bolts out of the motor and put the motor on the new regulator. And I'm going to put Loctite on those bolts so that they can't rattle loose. And that's basically it for reattaching the motor. It's just bolted out those three bolts. And back in a second once the new one's attached. Okay, so I've got the new motor put on the regulator assembly. You'll note where the screws are. They're not in the two holes that are opposite each other. They're kind of diagonal. The teeth of the motor engage with the teeth of the geared arm, and I've made sure that everything else is flop down, nice and floppy and moving around good, so there's nothing to bind and keep the snap that arm again. So I'm just going to stick it in again from the bottom, and this arm, with the plastic sleeve on it, is going to go in first. Slide along, and then in the track, and I'll show you that afterwards. It's going to go this way. Okay, so this arm is going to go in. Oop, no, it's going to go that way. That arm is going to go in from the front of the bottom of the window channel and slide in. This plastic one, in from the front, slide in. So you're just going to have to move everything so it's out of the way. Flop this one up, like, yeah. So, and pull that arm down. Anyway, back in a second once I get it like just started in there. I'll show you that after we just got it started. Okay, so the first foot with the plastic slider in it is on. That's the main foot that is attached to the same shaft as the other one. The rest of the motor is slid in, facing forward. This has got to rotate this way. Fun. Yeah. Turn all the way. Okay. Because this part here is then going to go to the other part. But first we're going to into the slider as well. This is what locks it into the slider. So now that we've got that on and the window locked in place again, we're going to lift this up. This pin here goes into this slot. This pin here goes into this slot. So first you're going to push it in that slot and then rotate that part into this one, lock it in place, make sure the rivets are lined up. Make sure all your old rivets, I just realized that. You got to make sure all those old rivets are popped out of the rivet holes. Gotta kind of tap those out with a screwdriver now. Completely forgot about them. Damn. Okay, I'm going to do that back in a minute. Okay, so you see the little tabs are pushed through, and then I'm just going to line up the rivet holes and rivet it in. And I'm going to save this one at the back for last. This back one that rivets in these back two holes, because I'm going to use it to line up the track once I lower the window down again. So anyway, yeah, I'll pop rivet those in. I'm not sure the size of the pop rivets I've got to use. I got about 5 different sizes, so I'll tell you the size in 2 seconds once I'm done. Okay, so the door regulator is held on with pop rivets, as you know, because we drilled them out. And it's just a regular pop riveter to hold them on. Use steel rivets, not aluminum. You can get aluminum or steel. Stainless steel is the ones you want to use. And they basically go into a hole with two pieces of metal in them. And when you pull on, squeeze the handle, it pulls this shaft inward, and the shaft is attached to that ball on the end, and it pulls it basically through this sleeve, and that expands inside the metal hole that you're pulling it into, and eventually the metal shaft snaps, and it's basically squished itself and formed to the size of the hole and squished everything together. It's got a little wider spot on the end here, and it makes a little ball on the end. Where's the... This is one of the rivets that was drilled out. You can see the ball and everything on the end, how it's mushed up so that it can't pop past the hole in the door. Oops, can't pop past the hole in either direction. So there's 6 pop rivets in all. You're going to do these first 4 at the motor and the main part of the regulator, and then we're going to do the bottom, the back sliding shaft after that. And I'm just going to pop rivet all these in. I'll be back in a second. And the size of the pop rivets I'm using are the 3/16 medium shank. There's the size there. B is the length. The diameter is 3/16. They seem to fit perfectly. So anyway, I'm going to finish pop riveting this main part in, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, so these 4 are pop riveted in, and you don't need a special pop riveting tool. You just need a pop riveting tool. They're 15 bucks, 10 bucks, whatever. A general purpose pop riveter will work as long as you know how to rivet. I'll show you it on one of the back ones. I'll show you the little, there's a couple of tricks to riveting sometimes that you need to know, especially to get them super tight. Now this at the bottom, this little adjuster foot, you're going to unscrew the bolt from it, take the back part that slides into here, stick it in, match it up with this, the arm there, and put the bolt back in, and we're just going to leave it loose for a minute. So once that's done, I'll be back in 2 seconds. Okay, so I've taken the T30 bolt out, put the little slider into the groove, into the slot there, and then bolted it back in through the hole. And this little arm there, see the little arm, it goes through a slotted hole in the slider. So now it's almost ready. We've got this last part on the back that pivots up. It's got a slider inside of it, and it gets pop riveted into, back up, that hole and that hole, the little track. So we're going to adjust that track and get it ready, and then I'll show you a little trick on pop riveting back in a second. Okay, so we've got this pop rivet in the back. I'm going to insert the gun over top of the pop rivet, and then gently squeeze a few times until it starts to snug up. I'm not going to try and pull that whole pop rivet. And I'm going to release. Once it gets a little bit of snug pull on it, release all the way, push in. Pull, release all the way, push back in. And keep doing that as you're snugging it up bit by bit. And once the rivet, I'm trying to do this one-handed, I can't reach back. Reach and grab. I have small hands, and it's kind of hard to reach all the way around the riveter. You're just going to do it bit by bit. Let me get. Come on. I can't get my hand around it. This rivet doesn't seem to be grabbing the shaft on it, does it? Nope. Lock, push in, come on. It's pulling a little bit. So you're basically going to keep every time, pull it little by little, and then continue to cinch the end of the pop rivet up, the riveting tool up flush with the rivet, so that's flush there every time you pull. There, I just pulled a little bit. I'm going to release, and release on this one means two-hand pull. Up, snug again, and then pull. Sorry, this is kind of difficult with one hand. It has to be pulled apart kind of with two hands. although it is a one-handed riveting tool. So flush again, pull a little bit, release, push all the way in so it's flush, squeeze again, and you're just keeping squeezing and squeezing until it pops, so it's getting tighter and tighter. There, I use my leg, that's actually working a little bit. I use my leg to release. Okay, that time got a bit tighter. Releasing, pushing forward. And this feels like it's going to be the final one. Almost. See, it's pretty tight in there now. You can see it. Should be the final one. And squeeze till it pops. And it breaks the shaft off, and now it's pop riveted in. And the shaft just comes out the end of your little tool. And I'll try to adjust this once we're done now, once I get these 2 pop rivets in. Okay, all bolted up and done. And what you're going to do is raise your window, your power window, and you're going to watch the back corner for space. You're looking for space between the back corner and the front. You're making sure it moves smooth up and down. You want to see if the back corner doesn't go up quite even with the front. And then you're going to bring the window all the way down. And if the back doesn't go up, if the back is kind of forward, tilted forward a little bit, loosen this bolt and move this arm down. This part, this little outside part, move it down further, and then move it up and down again until you get it. The side-to-side location of this is already determined. It's fine. Basically around there, about 1 centimeter from the end. You can move it a little bit back and forth to experiment with it, but you don't need to move it too much. As long as it's sliding back and forth in the track, and again, moving this up and down will adjust it, the back of the window when it goes up. And that's about all she wrote. I'm going to put everything back together. Thanks for watching. Okay, so excuse the fingerprints on the window. You're going to have some doing this. Now we're just seeing it going all the way back up and down. You can see how that arm works. The back one is the only one that slides within the track. And the front one stays still. The front one is the one that pulls the front of the window up. So if the back of your window was coming up and the front going down, adjusting the window to make the front go up more, you have to move this end down to make it come down more. You move it up, this little piece here, loosen the screw, up to slide it up to make the front end come down further, slide it down to make the down to make the back end come up further. You want to make sure it's not pinching, now to make sure it's not tight going up. There's no binding anywhere. It's just coming up and down nice and smoothly and straight. Okay? And make sure to lube the crap out of everything. Especially this slider in here, underneath there. Just lube it before you put it together. Get some lube in between this arm where it pivots and on the bottom window track there, and on the gear teeth. I'll show you the gear teeth come down. You can see the gear teeth. Just lube along here where it goes in between its slider. There is lube in there. It's the silver grease, the metallic grease, the synthetic silver metallic. Anyway, the red stuff is also a synthetic grease that I'm using, a Mobile One synthetic grease. It works really well too, but I kind of ran out of it, so I used the synthetic anti-seize. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this wasn't too long. I hope it helped somebody. Yeah, thanks for watching.